Live for Hump Day, past the halfway point of the working week. For those who are still working, for those who work Monday to Friday, happens to be my world still. About, 3-4 months into working from home? Time has very little meaning anymore. The old saying, new saying, there are only 3 days now: yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It's impossible to plan things. I know there are people in various places who have something approaching normality happening, but it's just fucking weird at the moment. Invisible Chicken, hello. And to me, still the weirdest thing about this whole fucking bullshit is it hasn't settled down. It's completely changing, and we don't know for sure what's going to happen. An absolute mugs game is try to predict what the world will be like in a month. It might be the same. Same infection rates everywhere, same death rates everywhere. Lots of places might see marked improvements. Lots of places might get diabolically worse. But anyone who tells you they can predict how things are going to go is full of shit. Well, my dishwasher is still going. Probably not loud enough to be particularly noticeable to anyone listening, but it just started making noise and distracted me, and I thought it would be over ages ago. Actually, I thought I put it on a really long time ago, but again, time has no meaning, so I'm not sure. Maybe I put it on 5 minutes ago. I'm joking. I put it on at least an hour ago, I think. So I'm just, you do like a micro adjustment and fuck everything up, because that is a thing that happens. This webcam is very strange and messes with me a lot. Will arbitrarily change its settings, and what I see on my screen here is not necessarily what people see when they watch the video on Facebook or YouTube, as in the lighting conditions and the color can be quite different. And just when I look at my screen, the colors are sometimes very, very odd and different. Notoriously with green, for whatever reason, this webcam will not show green. Other colors, they're pretty good approximation of what the color is. Blue, see, it weirds me out. It won't do green, but it will do blue. Blue. And, there's yellow up there, and there's red, but not green. It has this weird thing about green that I do not really understand. It's just one of life's little mysteries. Shieldsy, how are we tonight? I'm actually feeling a bit weird and somewhat subpar in the tummy region. It's possible I might not last that long. I don't feel terrible, but I feel weird, and I don't know if I will have energy to go for the usual 12 hours. I mean, we'll see. I'm just soldiering on and seeing what is what, and how long I keep going for this evening. And so yes, no predictions, no promises, as they say, but we'll just go. But I do have, I want to try this now. I'm going to wait for a while, but I actually just want to try it. a new flavor of Pepsi Max. Not sponsored. They should sponsor me the amount of I drink. They do these limited edition flavors. Some of them stay on sale for a very long time, as in years. This is a new one. Last year, the new one they brought out was creaming soda, and you can still get that. This is a brand new one. Mango. It seems like a really odd flavor. I wish they'd bring back lemon or lime. I liked lemon and lime. The creaming soda one, my taste for it kind of waxes and wanes. I think if I have too much of it, I don't like it anymore. And to an extent, the same with the vanilla, actually. Though I think it's got more staying power than the creaming soda. The creaming soda is, to me, really weird how strong the fake sweetness is. Actually, it's not fake sweetness. It's not sugar. What is their sweetening agent? Aspartame, or whatever the fuck it's called. Watercolor sweeteners. Contains phenylalanine. I think they use aspartame or aspartamine or whatever the fuck it's called. And it is stuff. It's stuff that's 100 times sweeter than sugar. So it's 1/100th of the calories of sugar. Ooh. Okay. Ooh. First taste. Not bad. Doesn't taste like. Does it taste like real mangoes? Kinda a little bit. Tastes like mango syrup. Yes, Shieldsy, Blog TV back in the day. I would just crank the fucking Pepsi Max while doing long stretches on Blog TV. Got more caffeine than other colas. Don't know if I'd like to drink a lot of this, but it's actually not bad. It tastes like mango syrup. Like with most of these sugar-free drinks, it's got a weird chemically aftertaste you have to get used to. Giving tasty notes on Pepsi Max. Yes, I'm living the life right now. Yeah. It's weird because it's a really different flavor. And I tell you the one thing, and I've said this before as well, when Pepsi started putting flavors in Pepsi Max, it got me into flavoring it. Like with plain Pepsi Max, I'll often put lemon juice or lime juice in it because I like it with lemon or lime. Miserable Chicken, both trying to. I saw you post that you're having a Liar's Old Fashioned. Yes. I hope it's good because I think they charge too much for their product. But it's the question of, how else do you get that flavor? I know they do a whiskey approximation, they do a rum approximation, and they do a gin approximation, and possibly some more than that, in fact. But I think they're more than a bit cheeky with how much they charge for it because they're not paying any of the taxes that spirit manufacturers do, yet it's priced like a spirit. Now, I'm sure they'd say it's because it's, handmade and and it's expensive, and it still kind of feels like a scam. Kirsten, hello. Yeah, I was going to. I still will at some point. I was going to experiment with some non-alcoholic milk clarified drinks, like using the flavored teas to try and approximate the flavor of some spirit. The Oz One sticker. Oh, you can see it on my fridge, can you? Or is there one on my fridge? What are we referring to? Oh, yeah, it is. It's on the fridge. Yes, a magnet, in fact, from back in the day. Visible triple sec. Okay, yeah. So that's just an orange flavor, of course. And of course, you can get orange teas. Yeah. Yes. At some point, I want to get more into experimenting with flavored teas and milk clarifying them and seeing if you can like approximate booze taste. What might work, because you can get non-alcoholic wines, of course, or drinks that taste fermented or have the dryness that wine has. Ooh, invisible chicken, absinthe and Campari. Well, of course, absinthe is anise flavor, and there are a number of ways to get an anise flavor without booze. Notably, you could get star anise or something like that, or fennel, a couple other things. Campari is just, something bitter. You know what could work for a Campari-like taste in a drink with some tea is orange peel, or even just orange husk, like with the pith in, because the pith on citrus has a lot of bitterness to it. So this mysterious stranger, I think they want an ice cream, or he's just getting a drink. So maybe the some citrus peel with a lot of pith. If you steeped that in some tea, that might add some real orange bitterness, which could be like a good Campari simulator. Worth exploring, actually. Check this out. Mango Pepsi Max.
I got an absolutely creamy soda when I was on Snapchat.
Saw that for the first time today. There. Trivia. I think it could come up with some fairly good flavored and interesting consistency non-alcoholic beverages with flavored tea and fruit peel. That might be my next. I do that as a next project. I think what tea would go. Is there a bitter tea? I'm just going to do a Google search. Is there a bitter tea? Fucking auto-completed to bitter tears and fucking in excess in my search. Fuck that. Ridiculous bitter Chinese tea? What makes tea bitter? Kuding or kuzding. Aha. So there is a specific. I could go to the Asian grocer down the road and find a bitter tea and get some exotic tea flavors and experiment with making some drinkies. I think some interesting tea flavors, some fruit peel, What else would I put in it? I don't know, maybe even a strong flavored juice like what have I got? What have I got? That's raspberry. That's not strong flavored. Pomegranate. I've got some pomegranate somewhere. Maybe some pomegranate juice. But yeah, do something like star anise would give you an absinthe flavor. Be fun making a few concoctions, actually, and seeing what we could do. I don't think what you think rooibos would work. I think I've got rooibos here. Mrs. Angry is a tea drinker, and there are quite a few different teas here. Good evening, Big Pat, Stella, and Luke. The sovereign citizens are getting fucked up by the cops now. There's all these people who've got this absolutely ridiculous, moronic idea that they can say laws don't apply to them. I feel like you've never been at a protest, have you? Because you only have to go to one or two protests to realize, oh, if you do something that cops don't like, they will fuck you up. Having been at a number of protests over the years for noble causes, cops will fuck you up because they find protests inconvenient. Whereas these fucking asshole conspiracy whack jobs who are saying they shouldn't have to wear a mask and blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah. Whether or not the cops got an official directive, I think they've sensed the public mood and that they should fuck these people up and people will cheer them on. So, how am I doing today, Pat? I'm a bit, I was about to go, I'm doing well, and I'm not. I feel a bit funny, but I feel okay. We'll see how I go. Because I'm feeling not quite sick, but not quite right. That weird middle ground where you're not sure, like, am I actually getting sick? Is this something, am I getting sick? Or is this just going to pass? Will this just go right by and I will feel fine tomorrow? Or will I feel much worse tomorrow? Who knows? So that's where I am, in a weird limbo of I don't feel great, but I don't feel terrible. Even to line down. Yes, Luke, that stupid woman who did the Facebook video saying, hey, I'm going to drive through and tell a cop to fuck off. And she tried it again. And they said, no. And they said, give me your license. And she said, no. And they said, that's not optional. You have to do it. And then she wound up her window and refused to talk to the cops. So they smashed her window and dragged her out of the car and arrested her and whacked a bunch of charges. I don't think she'll get put in prison, but she will get thousands of dollars in fines. And then she'll just go on the internet and the other fuckwits will give her all the money to pay the fines, which will be depressing. Because, it's just these people are fucking obnoxious. Thing there's going to be looking at is this concept of medical exemptions for masks, which is clearly, I mean, okay, there are a whole range of legitimate reasons people with very specific conditions can't wear masks or can't wear masks for a long time. But as is shown by, as we've come to call her, the Bunnings Karen, that person is clearly full of shit. And I think, there is gonna be a bit of a crackdown on bullshit medical exemptions. Pat, your brother's birthday on Saturday, 49. Tell him he's an old bugger. He's an old bugger. Stella, was she making a scene for the sake of it? Your brother says you can travel in and out of lockdown zone on the back roads. There are no checkpoints. They don't have checkpoints everywhere. They have a couple of checkpoints. And this woman specifically, when there, had her camera, it was probably a phone running, saying, I'm going to go up to this checkpoint and basically tell the cop to fuck off. And she did and laughed and, we are free people. And I actually feel quite sure the cops were told, don't put up with bullshit. If these people are doing these fucking stunts because they actively want attention, you tell them they don't have a choice, that you're giving them legal directives and that you have arrest powers. Like, these people are so fucking delusional. It's absolutely wild. And just the way they're aggressively obnoxious as well. It's just, what the fuck? I think there is a reasonable chance that we are going to get some sort of public protest from these fuckwits where they gather in a group refusing to wear masks because they think it's their right, and then the cops will come and fuck them up. Because there was a story, someone had pictures of, there is this group that's been meeting in like a gym or something, a whole bunch of them in a closed space with no masks, talking about ways to fight this tyranny. Just all fucking cross-infecting each other. Because as we are seeing repeatedly, it only takes one fuckwit or a very small number of fuckwits or people with bad luck, essentially, or a couple of bad decisions. It's like, we let that person not be in quarantine for compassionate reasons. Turns out they were positive, and then they went to a public space. And that seems to have happened just so many times. And story breaking today of these two young women who flew back to Queensland, and they lied apparently on their entry papers about where they'd been, but they had been in Melbourne, and they've ended up testing positive, but they've like been socializing to the fucking max in between the time they got back to Queensland and when they tested positive. They'd been to multiple large gatherings, church and shopping and nightclubs, and it's just like, what the fuck? Invisible Chicken. Queensland has 3 confirmed cases. Queensland has dozens of cases in the community now, no doubt whatsoever. It was the collective noun for Karens. Yeah. An entitlement of Karens. I'll go with the collective noun for Karens is an entitlement of Karens, because that's the defining feature of these women who do this shit, the sense of entitlement. Big Pat, I did not see or talk to AZ. I'm not going to see AZ because we live in other parts of town and we're not allowed to travel around. And also he has no immune system and he should be isolating. I meant to call him today, though, and I forgot. I had a funny kind of day. So I will try to remember to call him tomorrow, and we might see him on a stream again. We shall see. Hopefully he's okay. I think he just forgets, and his sense of time is not great. Like, he doesn't realize how much time has passed since he was in communication. Oh wow, Stella, a murder of Karens. Wow, because they're usually anti-vaxxers too. They do seem to clutch onto a spectrum of conspiracies, the Karens. I mean, of course, the concept started in America with these freaky recurring number of white women who were calling the cops on black people for like literally nothing, for existing, for having a picnic in the park, and playing the victim. It's so wild. Safa, you happy there's no guns in Australia because COVID's making people go crazy? Yep, there's been a few COVID-related shootings in the US, which is really disturbing. Well, Invisible Chicken, the racism, probably the most extreme one was that woman who threatened the bird watcher, the one who was strangling her dog, and she threatened the guy who's bird watching, and because she had a dog off leash in a part of the park where you weren't allowed to have a dog, and she started playing the victim, and then she just said to the guy, "I'm going to call the cops and say you're threatening me." That is literally and unequivocally a death threat. In America, to a black man, that's a death threat. Saying, "I'm going to call the cops and saying you're violent and threatening me," that is literally a death threat. That is fucking despicable. I mean, the other ones, they're just annoying and officious. Like, there's these people, they're doing a thing I don't like. And they're black, so, come and do something about it. But this one was making a literal, direct death threat. Absolutely despicable. That's true, Luke. There was a big surge of business at gun shop, really long lines in the US when fears about the Rona started in the US. I thought, it's going to be wild survivalist times and guns, all these people buying guns. Ugh. That's so weird. It's so weird, the thing with guns in the US. Really does my head in. I gotta be careful. I better not burp. Like I said, I'd be feeling a bit weird. I feel like if I burp, I'll throw up. So, I wonder if it's my lunch, because I was fine up until lunch. But I had, I cooked my own lunch, so I've only got myself to blame. If I think it was my lunch, I would have had a more extreme reaction. So did she get her dog back? I did hear her dog was taken away from her. Yeah. Yes, Invisible Chicken, I wouldn't be surprised if there was an increase in gun and ammo sales in Australia. Fortunately, nowhere near on the scale of the US. There are still too many guns in Australia with people who really shouldn't have guns, very eager to have them. What did I have for lunch? A thing I made myself. It was like a bolognese pasta bake. So it was like one layer of bolognese and one layer of pasta and one layer of like cheese sauce on the top. And it was yummy. And that's what I had. And it was second time because I made a big thing of it and there was some leftovers. So I had the leftovers. So that's what's playing on my mind. It's like, ooh, did the leftovers sit around too long? It was only a day. Did I leave them out? I don't know. So I think I'm just being paranoid that I might have given myself dodgy food. Yes, that video of her lifting the dog up by the fucking choke chain was weird. Why was she doing that? She's a not good person, a not all there person. But yeah, America is just weird. I mean, like, Portland has had 2 straight months of protests at night, every night. You got this weird shit with the cops and the federal forces that Trump put there, insisting on escalating things on a non-violent crowd. Their cops are just fucking psychos. You know, I have real concerns about the type of person who wants to be a cop anywhere, because that whole "I want to do good" thing is fucking bullshit. The driving force behind the majority of them is I want to have power over other people, and that's unhealthy. Ugh. But in America, they're fucking psychopaths. The just absurdly violent way those cops react to non-violent people is staggering. And whether, like, they fire ordnance into people's faces, stuff like tear gas canisters and flashbangs and other stuff that's meant to not be fired at people. They deliberately shoot people in the fucking head with it. And they've severely injured dozens of people. And it's absolutely stunning. The violence that they just so casually inflict on people. And it's absolutely unnecessary. But they're terrified, because there's been the things that happened in the US, like people actually taking a cop station and burning it, putting it in people's heads. The cops aren't an unstoppable force. That makes the cops really paranoid. It is literally an existential threat to the existing police structure in the US. There's a growing groundswell of, we have made a terrible mistake with the amount of money we've poured into the police and militarizing them and making ordinary citizens the enemy. And it's the classic illustration of, to a man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. To a hyped up cop with military grade gear, everything looks like a military operation. Their reaction to everything is excessive violence. And, they just fucking kill people. And when they're not killing people, they're beating the shit out of people. Ways where it's completely unnecessary. It's not just unnecessary, it's counterproductive. So it's just, something's got to give. And I don't know, it's really weird to watch. A lot of the stuff that's happening in the US is borderline revolutionary, and there's not something I would have expected to see. I don't look at US culture as particularly revolutionary, but it's there's some amazing stuff happening. Stella, did I see the video of the Vietnam vet who's in front of the cops? He was going on about atrocities committed in Vietnam. They just ran up and hit him. Yeah. He was literally just standing there, and these cops just ran up on him and beat him really savagely with truncheons. I think they broke some bones in his hand, and and hit him in the face with pepper spray. It's just like, they're fucking savages. They're absolutely savages. So for how united is the US is a big question. It's getting weirder and stranger. The pandemic is a very weird and unexpected stressor that is making a lot of things worse. the ground is shifting all the time. It's so hard to know what is happening. And of course, with the election coming up and Trump and his fuckery, the way it's just impossible to know what's happening. Ooh, the US is about to hit 150,000 deaths as the world's about to hit 17 million cases. Well, Brazil really wants to take the US's title, though. Brazil with 2.5 million cases and coming up on 90,000 deaths. And here's the thing. Brazil will be radically underreporting both cases and deaths. It's not good. Who's the top 5 these days in cases? US, Brazil, India, Russia, South Africa. And then a few Central and South American, Mexico, Peru, Chile. And then the good old United Kingdom on 300,000. Iran. Spain's having another spike, I think. God, okay, this is going to get depressing if I keep looking at that. I should stop. Although there is the thing I want to see. I always know where to get numbers from Nate Silver. He always has a good roundup of the numbers. God damn, back over 1,000 deaths in the US. That's a big jump from under 500. So that's interesting. It's really, everyone's doing this thing on maintaining these numbers, like not getting completely out of control, but not getting under control. And it's all question of scale. Like, we're worried about our hundreds of cases a day in Melbourne, and rightly so. You get American cities with tens of thousands of cases a day, and the US getting 1,000 deaths a day. And the US, it's been like that for like a month or so, like really quite bad, but not absolutely spiraling out of control. And we've got our numbers here that are, from our perspective, not good, but they haven't spiraled completely out of control. And Sydney trying desperately to not end up in the situation that Melbourne is, like them having about a dozen cases a day. Again, it's not getting past that stage of a handful of cases a day, but it's also not going down. They're getting that dozen cases a day. And that could easily turn into what Melbourne has. Melbourne's could easily get much worse. I don't think Melbourne's will, because the amount of controls we have in place now. It's a question of how quickly it comes down, but there's no real evidence that it's going to spiral out. Sydney's might not. They might have it under control. Honestly, there's a lot of not good signs in Sydney, but it might be under control. And now Queensland's getting its first troubling signs. In a couple of weeks, they could be in the situation Sydney's in now. It's very hard to be sure. This shit is all out of control. So you've been watching videos by a channel called Bow of the Fifth Column. It's been outlining all the steps they're taking of the exact opposite of the Defence Force manuals to deal with civil unrest. Oh, yeah, no, the police in the US are just fucked. I didn't hear that, Safa. Alcohol banned in South Africa because of COVID. Kirsten, that is also a good point. Trump has made it clear he's trying to deliberately obscure reporting of coronavirus cases, said the hospitals had to report direct to Washington, not through the CDC. That was dodgy as fuck. Yeah, well, Catherine, that, as you say, the reported number of deaths and the possible number of deaths is different. That's the 1918 flu death toll was like that. 1918 flu death toll. So, does the CDC say? Most severe pandemic in recent history was estimated about 500 million people, or 1/3 of the world's then population, became infected with the virus. The number of deaths was estimated to be at least 50 million worldwide. Now, I'm trying to find another source. So yes, there apparently estimates of the death toll were anywhere between 20 million and 100 million, and people seem to have settled on 50 million as a rough guess. But we just don't know. Once the death toll starts getting to that number, you don't know. So 500 million estimated cases, 1/3 of the world's population. World population. Okay, the world population is now 7.8 billion. So, let's say 8 billion. So if 1/3 of the world's population, that's like 2.5 billion. If this pandemic infects the same percentage of the world's population, they're expecting 2.5 billion people to get infected, which is fantastic, really, isn't it? God. Safa, we did talk about the woman who got a window broken, just like she fucking told. Yes, Stella, good point. Huge number of homeless and poor in America and everywhere else in the world that will die without ever being tested. Luke, I think there was actually a plan to house the homeless as a form of community protection. I didn't hear the specifics, but I believe there was some plan to house the homeless. So, yes, unexpected side benefit. People having somewhere to stay in winter. So I was thinking, like, let's just say, total confirmed cases coming up on 17 million. That 2.6, that would mean, again, these numbers are all made up and they don't necessarily correlate. They're not necessarily, but for argument's sake, if a similar proportion of the world's population was going to get infected, we would be 1/20th of the way through at the moment, or allowing for just a multitude of undetected, unreported cases, 1/10 of the way through the number of people who are going to be infected. And if we don't control the rate of infection, hospitals get overwhelmed and the death rate goes up. Yay! So, see, I'm getting depressing again. I'm back to being paranoid about getting it, by the way. Stella, you're loving being in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. Very, very minimal chance of contracting the virus when you're very isolated. Yeah. I mean, because, realistically, it's again, there's so much about this shit we don't know still. But realistically, given my age and fantastic physical physique, if I were to contract the Rona, there's about a 30% chance I would end up being hospitalized, because the complications like pneumonia is common. But yes, there's about a 30% chance I would have a bad enough case that I'd end up being hospitalized, and 10% chance I'd end up in intensive care, which is fucking terrifying. Absolutely fucking terrifying. Hey, Bex, came in while I'm just in a really up mood. Yay me and my up mood. It's like, I'm feeling better. I was feeling a bit weird. Probably don't want to drink any more Pepsi Max because of the caffeine, and I do want to sleep tonight. Could have a cocktail. Probably shouldn't, though. Ooh, wait. I've got something in the fridge. Yep. I'm really, really torn as to whether I have a drink. Bex, yeah, Queensland is probably fucked. Yes. Yes. Well, okay. They weren't Victorian girls. They're Queensland girls, but they'd been in Victoria where they did get the Rona. And yep, then they went fucking everywhere in Brisbane. Yep. Sophie, it's surprised Aubrey's only had 13 cases. There's probably undetected cases. Still, you were in Melbourne last year. Feel like you dodged a bullet moving back to the goldfields. Looking increasingly like you have an autoimmune condition. Yeah, you don't want to have an autoimmune condition at the moment. Like AIDSy, who has basically no immune system. He contracts the Rona. Like, yeah, he may as well be, for his health, he may as well be in his 90s. He's like at very high risk of going into hospital, and very high risk of ending up in intensive care. Bex, I agree, right? When I heard the story of how much they went out and how much they interacted, yeah, more than I'd go out in a typical year, yeah. What are the chances? What are the chances these two girls who have the Rona, who apparently lied on their entry papers and, just went everywhere. Restaurants, shopping, nightclubs, church. Ooh, dear. Oh, yeah, and I did see the stuff. There's a third person who's known to them. There's no way they didn't infect a fucking bunch of people who then have been going off infecting another bunch of people. I think it's an incredibly infectious disease. It's so fucking easy to spread. Yes, Stella. Yes, fuck Clive Palmer for having his iffy about WA border. Just fuck Clive Palmer generally. Really. Fuck that guy. He's the fucking worst. Visible, can you experience problems with your asthma at the moment? Ugh. Yeah. No, any respiratory complications, not great. So that's where you want to, and they just keep pushing these stories about the trials of a potential vaccine, and it's like, I mean, my understanding is in a perfect world, it would be borderline impossible to have a vaccine widely available sooner than halfway through next year. And what about this fucking world is perfect? Again, yeah, I'm going to be, Donny Doomsayer, but we have literally never come up with a vaccine for a coronavirus in the past. It's now a whole different sort of effort's been put into this. And yeah, maybe we get the miracle cure, which would be fucking awesome until the next one. Yeah, it's just, I really worry about giving people a false sense of hope. I really worry about that. Trump wants to be Clive Palmer. Did you mean Clive Palmer wants to be Trump? Oh, is that? Well, look, what are we going to do? This is the big question. What are we going to do? How long can we keep sort of shuffling along? Because it is such a contagious and potentially devastating disease. If you do nothing, a significant proportion of the population gets it. If the hospital system gets overwhelmed, which happens quickly, the death rate skyrockets. Like a lot of people going, it's looks like it's got a fatality rate of about 1%, but in a localized area, like in a big city, if the hospital system gets overrun, the death rate quickly spikes to about 10%. And there's increasing evidence at least 30% of people who get the Rona have long-term debilitating side effects and in some cases permanent disability. So if this gets through the whole population, you imagine that suddenly 30% of the population having a debilitating medical condition, not being able to work, like chronic fatigue is the fucking least of it. And yes, Safa, old people's homes are fucked up in Australia. Yes, definitely. So you saw one thing they're chatting on ABC, they're looking to release vaccines in October. Yeah, they've got to go in phases. And it's really, some of the companies behind them have been adventurous. They've gone like, we reckon this one might work. And just speculating that it might work, they've produced millions and millions of doses of it. It's like, oh, geez, okay. You're feeling pretty fucking spirited. But it's really, really, really hard to know if any of these vaccines will work. There's the unknown question of, can you be reinfected with the coronavirus? Like, you've had it, you've recovered, can you be reinfected? There is anecdotal evidence. There's lots of people saying this has happened multiple times, which is really fucking bad. Yeah, that whole thing about saying the trials are in phase 3, it's fucking meaningless. It is absolutely fucking meaningless. And that thing about it being released in October, there is no way, it is absolutely impossible that there would be wide distribution of the vaccine in October. There might be more testing of it. There may be more volunteers getting whacked up with it. But there are two things you have to know. One, first and foremost, does it hurt people? And the ones that are advancing through the trials have at least been shown to be unlikely to hurt people. Well, there's three things. Okay. Don't hurt people. Second, does it trigger an immune response? And again, these ones that are leading the trials, they say like, yeah, we've got promising signs that it triggers an immune response. But the third big one is, Does it work in the real world? Does it actually protect people from getting the disease? And it'll be a long fucking time before we know the answer to that one. That's the thing. They just, they have to give it to more and more and more and more people in tests. They bypass the years of animal tests. Fortunately or worryingly, they've got a huge number of human volunteers. Like, if I can stick me with the experimental vaccine that could have a really bad effect. But you won't know if it's an effective treatment for a really fucking long time, because it has to be gradually used by more and more people. And you have to know they've been in an environment where they will have been exposed to the disease and they don't get it. It's really complicated, and I think a lot of the reporting is really irresponsible. Just saying like, "Oh, we're in phase," it doesn't fucking mean anything. Them saying we're in phase 3 doesn't mean it's going to work. Doesn't mean it's going to work anytime soon. Doesn't mean it's going to be available anytime soon. And yeah, this speed with which everyone's trying to move just ratchets up the risk astronomically. I work in cybersecurity. I have to deal with risk, and I've seen again and again and again and again and again, people are absolutely fucking useless at accurately calculating risk. They are very bad about it. And yes, Stella, I hate that it's going to give the anti-vaxxers fodder as well. Absolutely. It's like, if you were planning, you're a country planning your economic future, doing risk assessment, no company, had, in terms of their world economic modeling, a complete meltdown of the global financial system that would cost trillions of dollars, and governments would just give trillions to these corrupt fucking banking houses. They didn't factor that in. No one's risk plan included a global pandemic that absolutely fucks the world economy. No one included that risk in their calculations. No one's doing serious risk modeling about climate change because it's too fucking scary. People are just really fucking bad at accurate risk assessment. And with accelerating these trials, what's the worst outcome from accelerating them? That it has an adverse effect on too big a chunk of the population. So, do I remember the 91 market crash? Yeah, it's nothing compared to the global financial crisis. You know what? I'm going to drink in my fridge. In my tasteful decanter. My clarified rum drink. Where's the rum? This is the one that has tea in it as well. So that's not just rum that I'm drinking, by the way. Oh yeah, and it tastes like port. It's got port in it. Isn't that funny? Like the port in this is so brown it's almost black, and this is the color the drink comes out, and it's actually lighter in real life. Looks darker on screen. But yes, before I clarified it, it was this very dark, dirty brown, like mud puddle water. And then you do the clarification and the magic happens. A really interesting flavor. Pina colada is the best. A clarified pina colada is just the fucking best because it doesn't taste like alcohol at all. And the way I make it, it has a lot of fucking rum in it. And yowza. So if you think it looks like lemon squash, it's yeah, it's yellow. It's a bit like a urine sample, honestly. I saw that story too, Suffer. The woolly mammoth bones found in Russia from permafrost melting. Yes, and that's another sort of fun potential apocalypse. The idea that there could be diseases under the permafrost that humans haven't been exposed to for millennia, and that we'll have no immunity to, and they could still be alive. Various viruses and bacteria are a bit like that, and some horrible disease could come out of the permafrost and fucking ravage the population. Isn't that a fun thing to know, really? I've done this before on a live stream. Things what could randomly fuck us up. Solar flares, asteroids, comets, pandemics, super volcano in Yosemite. All these things that could just fucking come out of nowhere and fuck us up. Ugh. It's a worry. It is. The only thing to do is not think about it too much, because if you think about it too much, you'll go crazy, because it's completely out of our control. You can do everything right and get hit by a bus crossing the road. So it's just not productive to think a lot about what could go wrong, because there's a whole cavalcade of things we just don't have any control over, and go crazy thinking about it. Yeah, Stella, we could accidentally start Skynet and be the end of us. Oh my God, if you want good, depressing, apocalyptic sci-fi, there's a book that was written by a robotics professor called Robopocalypse. What was his name? Robopocalypse. Daniel H. Wilson is the writer. And he is an actual researcher in robotics. And it's all about a slightly future world with all the self-driving cars and robots running around, and scientists in the lab create an AI that scares them, and they try and destroy it, but it's really smart and knows they're trying to destroy it, so it kills all the scientists and gradually escapes from the closed system it's in and gets out into the world. And then there's a critical tipping point when it's got control of enough systems, and then comes the robo-apocalypse, where it fucking wipes out humanity, or very close to it. And there's a sequel called Robogenesis, which is even scarier than the first one. Yes. So if you want a very good and very creepy apocalyptic science fiction, you'll want to read Robopocalypse, because he just extrapolates from things that happen now, and just like humans might go along a particular path, and this is what could go wrong. And it goes spectacularly wrong. So yeah, okay, he's from Carnegie Mellon University. He completed a Master's of Science in Robotics, another Master's of Science in Machine Learning, and a PhD in Robotics at Carnegie Mellon. His thesis work was entitled Assistive Intelligent Environments for Automatic Health Monitoring. So that was really wholesome. And then he just decided to write some really fucked up stuff. Robopocalypse and Robogenesis, which is like, cool. Scare me. So if you're hoping the nukes aren't connected to the commercial internet, hey, if you want to have bad night's sleep, look up how bad the security at America's nuclear facilities are and how the guys who run them are constantly drunk or on drugs. That's another cheery one. All the nuclear fucking weapons. I forgot. I knew I wasn't thinking of all the things that could kill us. The nuclear weapons. Oh, it's all a bit much, really. Honestly, what more could a poor boy do? Let's think about something a bit happier. Stella, sometimes things sound scary, but then Facebook marketing try to sell you breast enlargement, and you already have E-cups. The computers aren't quite as smart as we think they are. Yeah, I think the thing that lets me sleep a bit easier. Like, I don't think artificial intelligence is going to happen. I don't think the geek rapture of the singularity is going to happen because it relies on magical thinking. And hello, Megaleech. The two good things, you get the nightmare scenario where a self-aware AI comes into being and it considers humans a threat and tries to kill us. And for the geeks, at least the positive one, the singularity, the bit where we advance computers so much, they're kind of like indiscernible from human consciousness, and you can upload your consciousness to the net, basically, and achieve a form of immortality because your consciousness will continue the whole way. And both of those involve magical thinking. Now, people who are way smarter than me think those things will happen. But exactly as Stella says, human coding fucks up. Humans fuck up all the time. These magical things, self-aware AI and the singularity, presuppose humans are going to stop fucking up their code. And I don't know if that's a thing. And it's both of them that are basically religion for nerds, because it requires magical thinking. It's like, we'll go from where we are to this perfect thing just because we will. I can't actually describe how we'll get there. I can't describe the steps that will be involved along the way. But yeah, it's magical thinking. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's just that I have a huge sort of cynicism about it. Oh, Megalith, you got a UK package today. It took 29-30 days to get here. Even local stuff is taking a while. I ordered some sheets and they took a long time. But I ordered some shirts this week and they only took a couple of days. And I ordered some more Dan Murphy's, which is supposed to come in tomorrow, just in time for the weekend. Yeah. Yes, Stella, you're absolutely right. AI is way too basic, and it's simulated AI at the moment. We're not close to being able to create an AI that can go shopping, make dinner. Simple human tasks are actually quite complex. The big thing is, and this is where this shit all falls down to me. People say, oh, we're going to have a computer in 10 years that'll be as complex as a human brain. It's going, you still can't define human consciousness. We're these bags of wet meat that is somehow self-aware, and we still don't know how. You know, you can point to things and go, that part of the brain does that. That part of the brain does that. That part of the brain does that. But what's a human? What's a consciousness? What part? And again, they can point to a part of the brain and say, oh, that drives this part of your personality and whatnot. But they can't define consciousness. You can get predictive algorithms that can be very accurate, and predictive algorithms will get better. And I think predictive algorithms will get better to the point that it's very difficult to tell from the outside that they aren't conscious, but they won't be conscious because they're not making their decisions because they choose to make them. They're making their decisions because an algorithm told them to make that decision. It's a very complex algorithm. It's a very nuanced algorithm. And like I said, from the outside, I can imagine systems that work on such complex predictive algorithms that from the outside, it's very hard to tell that they're not conscious. The old Turing test. Could a computer-generated artificial intelligence fool someone into thinking it's a person? Yes, Stella is a good thing for studying part geeky programming, part philosophy. I have an interest in the ethics side of it as well. I've been considering, because the ethics side is fucking huge. We were talking about, I was talking to someone on Twitter today about how doctors will get replaced by AIs. They fucking will. A really complex algorithm, if you can get rid of the human prejudices in the coding, the idea of being able to just do things like, take your temperature, blood pressure, get the symptoms, and cross-reference 1 million medical records and say, this person is suffering from X, the treatment is Y. And there are already computer systems that consistently outperform human doctors, because human doctors have biases. Now, the programmers who program these systems often have biases, and that needs to be overcome. But I personally have no doubt computers and robots will replace doctors and surgeons. You will get immeasurably better diagnostics from a computer system than you will from a human. Humans will still have to do the research. Humans will still have to get the evidence. Humans will still have to provide the data for these predictive systems, but these systems will be better than a person. And I think that's not even that far off. And there are already surgery robots that exist. And I think we're on a very short horizon for robots being better surgeons than humans, just being more precise, not susceptible to fatigue. So yeah, fucking doctors and surgeons are fucked. They're going to get replaced by machines and AI. A lot of the professions are. I mean, I have a mild terror of judicial systems being run by computers, again, just because of inherent bias in programming and evaluation. But then I look at the horrific bias that exists in the human judicial system and think, probably won't be that bad. Like literally just referencing case law, the fact that you could develop a system that when you're trying to judge the legality of something could research the last century's case law and present arguments that say, based on evidence, the finding should be, lawyers become a thing of the past, so which is a good thing, honestly. No lawyers here, are there? Ruki saying, you're still spotty. That's the thing. That's an in-joke between me and Luke, by the way. Ruki saying, you're a tech nerd. AI replacing doctors gives you a heckin' concern. Yeah, see, that's because you're a prejudiced meatbag who has bigotry towards silicon and metal. Human doctors are fucked, man. Human doctors make so many mistakes. Human doctors kill so many people. Yeah, Stella, tell the grandkids that humans used to mine underground instead of it just being all machines. Yeah, but everyone thinks of manual labor, factories, mining, and all these manual jobs being replaced by automation. But the professions are absolutely going to be replaced by machines and automation and AI. Visible Chicken, you have a law degree, but not legally able to practice law. David, AI politicians. If you could get the humans out of politics, that'd be fucking ace. You know, if government decisions were based purely on evidence and results, the world would be really fucking different. And lefties would get a few real shocks, and conservatives would get a fuck ton of shocks. But it's kind of like, it's kind of like the fear of self-driving cars are going to do this weird thing, it'll kill people. Yeah, dude, have you missed the thousands of people human drivers kill? We read about, that self-driving car killed a person. How many humans killed people in the same time period? But anyway. Stuff as the HK-47 assassin droid once said, I don't like meat bags. No. So it's a thing. My biggest worry with automation and AI and stuff replacing people is the programming behind it has been done by people. And we've seen again and again and again and again when systems are designed by straight white dudes, as an overwhelming majority of systems are, huge biases creep in. They pretend, no, it's algorithms, it's not biased. It's as biased as the person writing it. We see it again and again and again. Sometimes manifesting in really weird and borderline humorous ways. Like number of there's things, the hand dryers that sense your hand under. It's got to do with a lot of them. I don't think this is universal, but with a lot of them, it's got to do with the amount of light reflected into a sensor in the thing. And when Caucasian hands go under this hand dryer, they reflect a certain amount of light, and the hand dryer kicks in. There's been a number of these systems, but when a black person put their hands under it, it didn't go off because their hands don't reflect the same amount of light. And the Caucasians who designed it never took that into account. Shit like that happens all the fucking time. So that recently there was that software people had, if you took a really low resolution pixely image, smooth it, and give you an approximation of what the person looked like. It was like a picture of a person. It was really, it was like 8-bit pixels, really blocky, and you use AI to smooth it and do it. And what it did repeatedly was when the pixely image of a person, it was a black person, the AI turned them into a white person, because the white guys who coded it, when they were doing the algorithms for guessing skin tones, they were only thinking of Caucasians. and they didn't see a problem with it. And then, yeah, famously, like people say, oh, there's a pixely picture that was obviously Obama, and this program used AI to make it more high res and turned him into a white guy. Yes, Rukusan, a human doctor allows a second opinion. An AI with the right source information would instantly reference thousands of academic research papers. Yes, Rukusan, that was another one. Face tracking, things with cameras didn't pick up people of color. Again, one of the racist but darkly humorous things. Cameras had these things, they tell you when you took a picture, if someone in the picture had their eyes closed. If you took a bunch of photos that had Asian people in it, it would single out the Asian people and go, I think their eyes are closed. It's like, oh, racist camera. So this happens again and again and again and again in technology development. It's straight white guys dominate the decision making in this world, and they refuse to recognize their own biases. And so their own biases literally get hard coded into systems. Yes, Alexander, it was blink detection. Yes. Yes, Arthur, you reckon cameras made in China wouldn't do it, but it's where the software was designed is the problem. I'm trying to think, there was another one. Oh yeah, it was a hiring thing. This company said, we want our hiring process to be unbiased, so we're going to develop an algorithm, because humans have a bias, and it was acknowledged that in IT they'll look at a female name differently, and in America, a black name, they'll look at it differently and whatnot, and they're going like, we have to take that bias out. And these guys came up with an algorithm, and all it did was amplify their biases, because it just looked at resumes and it would pick out particular things, and it was comparing it to past hiring practice. It was just going there, and it would work out. It was in many ways a very good AI algorithm, and it would work out. This resume is almost definitely a woman. Historically, we haven't put women in important roles here, so I'm rejecting it because past practices, this was rejected. And it was hilarious. These guys are going, oh, we're going to do an algorithm and it'll be impartial. But they programmed the algorithm with all their inherent biases that they were refusing to recognize. And it was just doing their biases. It was just going, oh, that's a chick. We don't want chicks here. Nah. And I've been working in IT for 20 years, and this shit is just everywhere. Nerds worshipping algorithms, and it's just like so fucking dumb. Google's terrible for it. And by extension, YouTube is terrible for it, and Facebook is terrible for it. And but they worship the algorithm, and they refuse to see the damage that's being done in the name of the almighty algorithm. And it's just like, what the fuck? I'm still thirsty, but I'm not going to have caffeine or alcohol. I'm going to have some lemonade. And some blood orange, I think, is a good one. Which one? That's blood orange. of my little plastic bottles. What did I put in what? I got some grapefruits today. I'm going to get some grapefruit juice and grapefruit rind. Yes, Stella, if you use a shit data set, you're going to get shit results. And if you're blind to your own prejudices, if you're blind to your own biases, your prejudices and biases will come out in code. You think it's beautiful, it's objective code. Nah, it's got all your biases built into it. You convince Zuckerberg's an algorithm. Some of the memes that were when he was testifying in the US Congress, some of the memes and GIFs that went around of how robotic he looked, it was just hilarious. I loved them so much. And you know, and there's some really fun ones where someone's photoshopped him to have data from Star Trek skin tones, and just going, I don't think I'll ever understand what you humans call emotion. Like, he is so fucking weird, and not a great person. He's not a great person. He has inflicted some quite severe evils on the world, and he is clearly solely focused on his own wealth accretion. It was really funny. There's some argument online, as Twitter or Facebook or something. Why are you lying, Mark Zuckerberg? What's wrong? Well, he's profited from genocide. And don't talk shit. What are you talking about? Point them to the information about Myanmar and the Rohingya massacres that were exacerbated by Facebook and the way Facebook amplified controversial stuff. And you think what happened in the US elections was bad. In Myanmar, it was literally the amplification of these genocidal messages about how the Rohingya were evil and diseased and needed to be wiped out. And a fuck ton of people were killed, and all the time Facebook were profiting off this bullshit. And someone said, why don't you like Zuckerberg? Is why he profits from genocide. Don't talk shit. Point them to the information that shows specifically and categorically Facebook profiting from genocide. Oh, shut up. And it's like, well, get fucked. It's Facebook is not neutral. Facebook is horrifically biased. Zuckerberg is not neutral. Zuckerberg is very much all about Zuckerberg and increasing the reach, the power, and the profitability of Facebook, and fuck any damage done in the meantime. Increasing misinformation, increasing hate, increasing violence. But it increased traffic, so it's good. It was funny, like that. They employ armies of people as content moderators, the people who are trying to get the violent stuff off Facebook, to get the child porn off Facebook, to get all the worst of the worst off Facebook. And based on what had been reported about the number of centers they had, the number of people they employed, and what they paid those people, it worked out Facebook is spending at least $1 billion a year trying to manage this, only because it's bad PR. That's the only reason they're doing it. But they realized they were probably going to be broken up and or shut down by various governments if they didn't get this shit under control. And so Facebook is spending at least $1 billion a year on content moderation, and that's nowhere near enough. They don't stand a chance of stemming the tide. Yes, Kirsten, as you say, people in those roles tend to not last very long because it's absolutely horrific. And they tend to go a bit crazy. They start to believe, they see the conspiracies nonstop, day in, day out, and it starts to permeate their head. And they start to indulge in conspiratorial thinking, because it's very hard to resist. If you see this really compelling content over and over and over, and it starts to penetrate. It basically does. Yes. Rick said, Tom from MySpace is a legend. He added you as a friend when you signed up. I think he was the only friend I ever had on Facebook, MySpace, because I didn't use MySpace much. And Tom cashed out for $100 million, I think. Tens of millions, anyway. Stella, you reported a post for advocating child marriage and got told it wasn't against Facebook's community guidelines. They're just fucked. They don't have, even spending $1 billion a year isn't enough to manage it. Yeah, Facebook is too big. Yeah, it's just fucking horrific. So you're worried about Facebook drains battery too much. Kirsten, your brother is BA for a safe modem company and he's a bit loopy. If you deal with paranoid stuff, it makes you paranoid. If you have to read conspiracy stuff all the time, it starts to penetrate your brain. You get conspiratorial. There's a study, I think there's been multiple studies that show, for instance, with religion, often people marry into a religion, right? They don't believe the religion at all, but they're in love and they marry someone who is into the religion. And so if we're going to be together, you have to come to church or synagogue, temple with me. And I say, sure, I'll come with you because, I love you. And they go and they read the books and they say the words and just to be there. There's a lot of studies that shown if you keep doing that, it starts to sink in. And in fact, that type of convert, the person who's joined the religion, not through any interest in the religion, but just to be with the person, they very often become much more of a zealot than people who were born into the religion. It's just like it permeates and it sticks. What's the least worst social network? There aren't any. I mean, what we need is the ecosystem that existed before Facebook, where things, there was Friendster and MySpace, stuff that would surge and go. So you'd have to jump because the platforms would only last 5 years. And then you'd have to jump to another one. But, Facebook's just got its tentacles in everywhere and doesn't want to go away. YouTube doesn't want to go away. Invisible Chicken seeing people who were nurses for decades questioning the safety of face masks. It's just conspiratorial thinking is very seductive because the eloquently written stuff is done in such a way that makes you think you're smart if you listen to it. Because you point out actual conspiracies that have happened in the past. You talk about things like medicine. Talk about the level of medical malpractice that has happened over the decades and centuries. Talk about the quackery that's been everywhere. Talk about how, what was accepted wisdom as little as a decade ago has been completely refuted now. So, therefore, why not this crazy shit over here? Conspiratorial thinking is very seductive because we do live in a weird, scary, and complex world. And when someone offers you this seductive solution to all this complex stuff, it's very tempting. Oh, back to IRC. Fuck, I love text. I loved group text chat. And not the group chats that happen now with time dislocation, but only happening, in a large chat room of strangers. I loved text chat. It was so much fun. But, shit happens, shit changes. And it's foolish of us to think we can stop it because nothing is permanent but change. That's my deep philosophy for the evening. And no, someone's identified the teenagers at their life is fucked. Coronavirus infected cleaner and her mate at the center of Queensland's new outbreak. Oh dear. Olivia, Winnie Marunga, and Diana Lassou. Oh dear. Ms. Marunga is a cleaner at Parkland Christian College. Oh no. Well, they're fucked. Oh, look, they're not white people. They're so fucked. They basically have to go off the internet and go into hiding because people are going to fucking ruin their lives. Oh, man. And everyone from Sydney is filthy and dirty, according to Anna Palashak. Pronouncing her name wrong, I know it. Ugh. Yeah, and I enjoyed this real-time interaction too, Stella. Ruku-san, it's interesting, Mango Pepsi. I did try it. It's not unpleasant. I don't know how much of it I'm going to drink. Like, I'm going to drink this bottle. It tastes like mango syrup. Like, it's got I don't know if it tastes like real mangoes, but it tastes like mango syrup. Like, no, this is a new flavor, Mega Leech. I just saw it in the supermarket today. Did my weekly visit to well, actually, no, I go to the supermarket probably twice a week. I saw it in Coles today and thought, what devilry is this? I have to try it. And it's not bad. I'd have to drink it a bit more to decide if I actively like it. Does it go well with bitters? I don't know, Stella. Bitters might be too much, because it's already got a flavor in it, this mango flavor. Tell you what, though, I'll try it. What's tomorrow? Thursday. I'll try it tomorrow night on the stream with some bitters, actually, because that's worth exploring. Bitters goes with fruit anyway. So, yeah, it's not bad. I have to drink a bit more to decide if I think it's actively good. It's because initially I was really into the creaming soda flavor. Then I went off it. And every now and then, creaming soda one's good. Kind of like the vanilla one. If I have it every now and then, it's like a nice change. I don't want to drink it all the time, though. I like to drink the straight Pepsi with fruit juice in. But this mango is interesting. Oh, Ruka-san, you did the coffee Coke. See, I hate coffee, so I wouldn't do that. Yeah, there you go, Stella. Yeah, bitters in the fruit juices. Yeah, bitters goes well with because fruit goes well in cocktails and bitters goes well in cocktails. So bitters definitely goes well with fruit juices. Oh, I'm not going to drink more Pepsi now, just before bedtime. But I'll try it tomorrow night with bitters and see what that is like. It'll probably work. It'll actually probably work. We shall see, though. We shall see. It's is it the devil's work or is it the nectar of the gods? That's the question. I have to admit, I got a shock when I saw it. I was going, mango seems like a weird choice, but I think it works. Like I said, I've got to drink a bit more of it to decide if I actively like it, but I didn't dislike it. So it might be the taste of summer. Mango Pepsi Max might be the taste of summer. Rick said, not sure if coffee Coke was tasted of sadness or if you liked it. Maybe you're a masochist. Yeah, I recently made a coffee beverage that I liked because I did the milk clarification thing. I thought maybe milk clarification will take the horrible edge off coffee that I don't like. So I had this can of coffee. It was Japanese. What the Japanese canned coffee was doing in a Woolworth supermarket, I don't know. Like it was made by Suntory, the people who make a quite famous Japanese whiskey. I assume it's the same company. But yeah, I forget what it was called. It was just a little can of black coffee, and sure, it tasted like coffee, as in gross as shit. I hate coffee. But I did the milk clarification thing with lemon juice and milk, and it did change it into something that I found palatable. And so then I made like a chocolate espresso martini with it. So it was the clarified coffee thing with white creme de cacao and vodka. So it was like a chocolate coffee martini, and that was pretty good. I actually liked that quite a bit. So yeah. Stella, the Vegemite Cadbury chocolate. Yeah, that was just like salted caramel. I thought the Vegemite chocolate was like salted caramel. And the corn chip chocolate. The corn chip chocolate was not terrible, but it was not great. It was just like, oh, okay, it's like got weird crunchy bits in the chocolate. Okay, but I've had that before. You get rice bubbles in chocolate and whatnot. I do remember a gelato place in Carlton years ago when I was working in that part of the world. They did a Vegemite gelato, and it just tasted like salted caramel gelato. So it was not bad. Yes, Mega Leech, to tell the grandkids when they say, well, it's 2020 like grandpa. Well, highs and lows. There was mango Pepsi Max, and there was also COVID-19. So you never saw the corn chip one? I don't think they make it anymore. There was, at the same time, they were doing a chocolate bar that had corn chips in it and one that had biscuit pieces in it as well. They are kind of similar. Might have been one that had crushed jats in it as well. I'm trying to remember. They had weird fucking chocolates. Decided to search weird Australian chocolate. No, I just want the normal search, not news. Weird. Weird Australian laws. That's an interesting autocomplete. Weird Australian chocolate. Clinkers aren't weird. What the fuck? Joey Graceffa from 2017 trying weird Australian candy. 3 different YouTubers with videos called trying weird Australian candy. There you go. Australian snacks. Yeah, they're just putting these like poly waffles. I want the freaking the corn chip ones. Poly waffle. What a mouthful. No, okay. Can't find it. I'm sick of searching. Ricky saying you're a cherry Coke fan. I don't like cherry cola. Tastes like medicine. Ooh, God, Stella, the Indian shop in Kalgoorlie does Vegemite naan. Damn. Yes, Rukasan, kettle chips. That was right. They did do one that had kettle chips in it too. Oh, I didn't even pick that up. Megaleech. Grandma is an attempt at non-gendered honorific for grandparents of the future. Nice. Nice. Wasn't a typo. It was deliberate. That's good. Kids of the future are going to look up the sort of shit that goes on now with trans people and non-binary people and gender fluid people and just going like, you had a problem with that? It's like us talking to a grandparent who wanted black people to be segregated. It's like, no, it's not really cool. It's not really cool. Future generations will look at the discrimination against, as I said, trans, non-binary, just genderqueer people. They'll look on it the same way any reasonable person looks on racial segregation. So, yes, it's a bit of a thing. And but they'll have their own things that they're fucked about. That's the thing. I think the two things that if there's any future generations, if the world doesn't collapse into climate catastrophe, let's be glass half full and say there'll be a continuation of human civilization. I think the two big things they'll look back on and go, "What the fuck was wrong with you?" Is the LGBTQI discrimination and meat eating. And I say that as a meat eater. I love meat and I'm lazy as fuck and I eat lots of meat. There is no question. It's an abomination, though. It's just insanely cruel. It's insanely wasteful. It's insanely destructive. It's morally, ethically, economically unsupportable, ecologically unsupportable, and it will get dropped. A combination of people realizing that it's wrong, and second, that the system just collapsing because it's unsustainable. The factory meat farming system that's around the world today is just unsustainable, and it will go by the wayside, and people will look back and go, the fuck were they thinking? What the fuck were they thinking? You know, it's unhealthy, it's uneconomical, it's destructive, it's cruel, it's ridiculous. Yep, Stella, that's the other one. Anti-vaxxers and climate deniers. If anyone's still around, they'll be pretty fucked off about that stuff. Ruki-san, that's a seductive line of thinking that the dickheads are boomers and older Gen X. The boomers in the 60s said that about their parents' generation. When they all die off, when they all die off, things will be better. And then the boomers just turned into their parents, and Gen X is turning into their parents. There is obvious improvements. There is, the improvements, long way from perfect, but the improvements on racial issues, marriage equality. Only a couple of years before that became the default, I wouldn't have believed it was possible just because of bigotry. But, here we are. And things will continue to improve, even though we go, one step back for every 2 steps, or maybe 4 steps back for every 5 steps forward. Progress is slow when it gets dragged back, and then you slowly go forward again. But I think things will generally improve. But that thing about when the old people die, it'll be better. It's very seductive, and it's completely wrong. Every generation says it. Oh, well, as old people die, things will be much better, and then they turn into their parents, and so on and so forth. So yeah. Yes, Megan, I assume you're saying so tasty is about meat. Yes, that's why I eat meat. It's convenient, it's unreasonably cheap, and it's tasty. It's tasty. But again, non-meat things, but tasty. I think our future is plankton and bugs, quite honestly, because we're not far off being able to process stuff that is indiscernible from it, and that is really tasty. And we'll be farming bugs and plankton for food. Still be veggies, obviously, but I see a future of plankton and bugs, and I don't say that as a negative. I think it'll be nutritionally better and be very tasty. Simple as that. But we won't have a choice but to move away from meat and the factory farming of beef, sheep, and chickens, because it'll fucking kill us eventually. Yes, Lucas Ruxan, we will all be consuming delicious slurm. And we will be grateful for it, quite honestly. An endless supply of slurm from very benevolent aliens who won't tell us where it comes from. I love the slurm is obviously a Futurama thing. Also, Poplars was a really, really good episode of Futurama, because they, found the tastiest food ever sitting in craters on a planet, and it turned out to be the young of an alien race, an intelligent alien race. So, yeah. Or Soylent Green, yes, eat the rich. I did see a good meme today of like an angry person at a table with a knife and fork, and the caption was, "You'll never be a billionaire, but it isn't too late to find out what they taste like." Yep. Look at history, man. This sort of wealth disparity only ends with severe rectification. And so if the 1%ers won't do it on their own, the action tends to get taken out of their hands. Stella, the lab meat is another interesting possibility, but I would be surprised if the lab meat ever becomes economically viable compared to bugs and plankton. So, yeah, I just think practically there's an easier solution than lab-grown meat. But I've been surprised by technology before, so maybe lab-grown meat would be a thing. Who knows? Safa revolution, brothers and sisters. Yes. You know what? What's a good, more neutral term than brothers and sisters, brethren and sistren? Good people, assorted motherfuckers. Yes. I do love the collegial sort of communist greetings, comrades. Well, that's what the communists did to actually get rid of gendered language, was to call everyone comrade. Yeah, okay, everyone's coming up. Okay, you all came up with comrade at the same time I did. Comrade, yeah. That's something without the baggage. Kirsten, see, you're in favor of assorted motherfuckers. See? Good people and assorted motherfuckers. I have gathered you here tonight for a reason. There's an, old episode of The Goodies. I don't know how many people remember The Goodies, but I saw it non-stop as a kid. And they had one episode that was kind of making fun of punk as a fashion. And there was a thing called the annual Trendsetters Ball, where they were going to find out what would replace punk, and it had to be something even wilder than punk. And there was an annual Trendsetters Ball where people would go and find out what the next trend was. And the MC was the actor who was from Are You Being Served? He was the floor manager. He had a military title. I'm trying to remember his name. Wasn't Major. But anyway, it was that actor, the guy who was from Are You Being Served, who was the stuffy old floor manager. And as the MC, he was dressed up in like these punk things with like safety pins and whatnot. And each time he got up to speak to announce the next thing, he would speak to the crowd, and he'd just go, "My lords, my ladies, and AC/DCs," and he'd come up with something. And the next one was just all beeps, ladies and gentlemen, and assorted. And it was just beep, 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 beep. They called everyone. Yes, David. Tim cut his leg off. That became the big fashion. Cutting your leg off. Speaking of COVID, Tim Brooke Taylor killed by the COVID. That was sad. See, that happened fucking months ago, and it feels like it happened in a different century. Time no longer has meaning. Stella, you still use comrades in the unions. Can be a little jarring. Yeah, comrades is okay. Oh my God, no, I just thought motherfuckers. That's what Ostentatious used to do back in the day when he was a person who did live shows. He'd just call the audience motherfuckers all the time. Hey, motherfuckers, how's it going? He was a unit, is a unit. He's still alive. He's very, very old and grumpy, and hates any working comedian. Occasionally see some online stuff where he tries to basically pick a fight with a working comedian today, like someone who's 40 years younger than him, and they just laugh like, dude, what do you want, old man? Real name Sandy Gutterman. Yeah, he's 66 now. Okay. And see, I had his records. I had Australiana, which was, I don't know, maybe it still is the biggest selling comedy record in Australian history. It was for quite a while. I even had his album. I had the Phantom Rap. See, he's not allowed to criticize me criticizing him because I bought his shit. what do I have? I had Australiana, the 12-inch single of Australiana, 12-inch single of Phantom Rap, and his album, which was called When the Tickler Stopped Quivering. Jesus, stuff that I remember. What the hell? Okay. I did not get his record Highway Corroboree, which I think he did with Ernie Dingo, where they were making a few points about Australians' treatment of Indigenous people while appearing to mock Indigenous people, but actually subtly working in a bunch of stuff that was potentially worth saying. Anyway, hey, it's bedtime. It's bedtime. So, all you assorted motherfuckers, I am going to go to bed. I survived the 2 hours. I wasn't 100% sure if I would. Not 100% sure how I'm going to feel tomorrow, to be honest. We shall see. We shall see. I think this deadline someone gave me at work is actually freaking me out and making me feel weird. I'm not joking. I think that's the source of my problem. Someone came up with this deadline out of the blue, some stuff I've got to get done by the end of the week. So I've got 2 more days to do. And I can do it. I can do it in 2 days. But it's just that suddenly having it was like really jarring. And I'm like, oh. And so I got to get stuck into it tomorrow to make sure I can get it done. Or not. Who fucking knows? Anyway, going to bed. So thank you, good people, for spending time with me. I hope you look after yourselves. Hope to see you again soon. Probably tomorrow night, in fact, where I might get a new dance. Yeah. And I bought some rum. So I could do another rum tasting. I can compare my rums and see if it was worth getting this different rum. So yes, good night, cunts. Good night, everybody. Yeah, besides getting some from Dan's, I'm waiting. I think it's going to take a couple of weeks. I'm not sure, but get the new special bevy from Kirsten's workplace, which I ordered. I think the orders are being fulfilled and sent out in the next couple of weeks. So it might take a week or 2. I don't know exactly how long it's going to take, but then I'm going to have this really specky Australian whiskey. And I'll definitely be doing a taste test of that on the live stream and making a couple special drinks with that, deciding what to do. Stella, you got your Starwood Manhattan today. I was considering getting that. Kirsten strongly recommended getting the old-fashioned again. Ooh, it starts on Monday, does it, Kirsten? Nice. Yeah, I knew. It actually told me in an email that, it's going to happen over the next week or so, and that's cool. So maybe get it next week. Yeah. Ooh, Invisible Chicken. Dad got the Solera. Yes, Kirsten has talked the Solera up quite a bit. But this new one, this high proof one, I couldn't resist. I think this is going to be a special one. So I'm going to have to taste it. Going to have to make an old fashioned, make a Manhattan. What else? A Boulevardier. Okay, I've definitely got to make a Boulevardier with it. I'm going to have so much fun with this one. Yeah, Stella, I've been very tempted to get the Manhattan as well. We shall see what I end up getting next. But yeah, take care, one and all. Hope to see you again soon. But I'm going to go to bed. So say bye for now.